The Moonlit Forest and the Little Squirrel. In the heart of an ancient forest, where tall trees reached high into the sky and the air smelled of moss and pine, a little squirrel named Nibbles lived in a snug hollow of an old oak tree. During the day, the forest was lively with birds chirping, leaves rustling, and streams bubbling. But tonight was different. The forest was cloaked in a soft silence, broken only by the gentle hum of crickets and the occasional rustle of leaves stirred by the night breeze. The moon hung high and full in the sky, its pale silver light bathing the forest in an otherworldly glow. Nibbles, who had spent the day gathering acorns and hopping from branch to branch, should have been fast asleep in her cozy nest. But as she curled up in her bed of dried leaves, a gentle beam of moonlight peeked into her hollow, tickling her nose. She opened one eye and then the other, curious about the source of the light. Sliding to the edge of her hollow, she peered out. The forest looked completely transformed. Shadows stretched like dark ribbons across the ground, and the moonlight shimmered on the dewy leaves, making them sparkle as if they were covered in tiny diamonds. "Wow," Nibbles whispered to herself. She had never seen the forest like this before. "It looks like magic." Unable to resist, she decided to venture out, even though the elder squirrels always said that nighttime was for sleeping. Quietly, she climbed down the tree trunk, her tiny claws gripping the bark. When she reached the ground, she paused for a moment, her little nose twitching as she sniffed the cool, damp air. Everything seemed so different at night. The familiar paths she took during the day were now cloaked in soft shadows, but she didn't feel afraid. Instead, she felt a sense of wonder, as if the forest was welcoming her into a secret world meant only for the night. As she wandered, fireflies began to appear, their golden lights flickering around her like tiny lanterns. They floated gracefully, forming small clusters that seemed to guide her deeper into the woods. "Hello, little lights," Nibbles said, giggling as one landed briefly on her whiskers before darting off. She followed the glowing trail until she came to a small clearing. In the center of the clearing was a pond so still that it perfectly mirrored the sky above. Nibbles tiptoed closer, marveling at how the moon's reflection shimmered on the water's surface. The stars above seemed to twinkle in unison with the fireflies around her, creating a dance of light that felt like a silent celebration of the night. She leaned over the pond, her little paws resting on a smooth stone. "Hello, moon," she said softly. "Do you always make the forest this beautiful?" Of course, the moon didn't answer, but its glow seemed to shine a little brighter, as if acknowledging her words. Nibbles sat by the pond, feeling a sense of calm wash over her. The air was cool but not cold, and the faint scent of wildflowers lingered in the breeze. She watched as a gentle ripple disturbed the pond's surface, perhaps caused by a tiny fish swimming below. As she sat there, her eyelids began to grow heavy. The soothing hum of the crickets and the rhythmic croaking of frogs seemed to lull her into a trance. She yawned and curled up on a patch of moss beside the pond, tucking her tail around herself like a fluffy blanket. The forest continued its quiet symphony. A family of deer stepped delicately into the clearing, their slender legs moving gracefully as they sipped water from the pond. An owl perched high in the trees let out a low, melodic hoot, its eyes gleaming like amber coins in the moonlight. Even the shadows seemed to come alive, swaying gently with the rhythm of the breeze. In her dreams, Nibbles found herself climbing a glowing staircase made of moonlight. It spiraled high into the sky, leading her closer and closer to the moon. When she reached the top, the moon greeted her warmly, its surface smooth and shimmering like polished silver. "Welcome, little squirrel," the moon seemed to say, though its voice was soft and more like a feeling than a sound. You've discovered the magic of the night. Always remember, even when the world is dark, there is beauty to be found. When Nibbles woke, the moon was still high in the sky, but the first hints of dawn were beginning to creep in. The stars had started to fade, and the fireflies were retreating, their work for the night done. She stretched and looked around, feeling a deep sense of peace. The forest looked different now, as if it had shared a special secret with her that she would carry in her heart forever. "Thank you, moon," she whispered, giving one last look at its glowing face before scampering back to her tree. As the sun began to rise, filling the forest with warm, golden light, Nibbles curled back up in her hollow. She sighed contentedly, her dreams filled with the magic of the moonlit forest.